Coming up on Network Africa, Sudanese army quells a rebellion by former elite troops loyal to ousted leader Omar al-Bashir. Political groups in Ethiopia raise concerns about a proposed August election timetable announced by the country's Electoral Commission. Plus, delegates gather in South Africa for second installment of the Business Economic Indaba at the Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin in Sudan, where the government says it has put down an armed revolt by members of a disbanded intelligence unit who are angry about the terms they've been offered for their dismissal. 2 soldiers were killed and 4 others injured. It's the first major challenge from within the security ranks for the transitional government, which took power in August.
Tuesday in Khartoum started like this. Members of the operations unit of Sudan's General Intelligence Services opened fire in the capital. They are rejecting a severance package offered to them after their unit was dissolved months ago and they opted to retire rather than join the military. Tension was high as people came out to see what was happening. Sudan's government, only months old, deployed soldiers to try to curtail the situation. Tanks patrolled the streets as the main airport was shut down. The operations unit in the intelligence services was dissolved as part of the reforms by the then military council, which ousted former President Omar al-Bashir in April, following months of protests. Protesters have demanded the intelligence services be restructured, accusing them of corruption and committing crimes against the government. The government describes this event as mutiny.
We affirm to everyone that the armed forces and all of the components of the rapid support forces are adamant in defying every attempt to shake safety and stability. Our promise to the Sudanese people is to protect this period, to protect the change, and to stand in full strength against those who try to tamper with the safety and stability of our citizens.
The violence is the biggest confrontation so far between the old guard and supporters of the new administration, jointly run by military generals and civilian leaders.
Let's get more on this story now from Naba Mohideen, VOA's journalist in Khartoum. Hello, Naba. Thank you so much for joining us. What is the latest at this time, a day after the shooting?
Latest is the military controlling the streets and controlling the buildings of the rebellions and blocking the streets leading to the army headquarters and all sensitive locations like the national TV and the defense ministry. There is no gunfire here anymore, but people are still terrified that if there is any attacks will happen and about the security situation generally. The gunfire lasted to Wednesday morning, the first hours of the morning, but for now it's stable and the situation is getting calmer.
All right, a senior member of the ruling Sovereign Council is accusing former intelligence chief General Salah Gon of orchestrating this rebellion. What evidence is there to prove this? Also, have the gunmen been arrested? Have they been apprehended?
Actually, there is no evidence provided up to now. It's just accusations. People know that it's linked to former regime movements like protesting on the day of the verdict of al-Bashir was issued on December 14th. And they know that maybe it's linked to their movement trying to restore the regime, like protesting in different places and also attacking civilians a few days ago in Wad Madani. But people are skeptical if those clashes are part of a political thing or a political agenda, because they think that, yes, they hear gunfire all around the capital, but they didn't see any report talking about arresting security soldiers or seizing what exactly and accusing someone or providing someone for trial. So for now, it's just accusations.
All right, Naba, finally, before I let you go, this is the biggest confrontation so far since the transitional government took power. How do they plan on responding to this?
True, it's the biggest confrontation since al-Bashir ousted in April. Sudan's government say they must proceed in restructuring those troops. And actually, this is why the issue is sparked out from the beginning, as Sudan's government make the security forces choose whether to be unified into the military or RSF troops being under one umbrella or to be dismissed. So they refuse to hand over the weapons and the buildings and all the assets. So for now, the only solution for this issue, the security solution, a political solution, is to restructure it or to dismiss it with taking out the weapons out of the security forces and make only one troops in the military, one unified powers, so they make sure there is no many troops have different agendas or have different loyalties.
All right then, Naba Mohideen, VOA's journalist in Khartoum, thank you so much for joining us. Moving on to politics now, political groups in Ethiopia are raising concerns about an election timetable announced by the country's electoral commission. The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia, NEBE, is proposing August 16th as the voting date, and a month-long voter registration exercise is expected to kick off in April. But representatives of political groups as well as civil society argue that since mid-August is the peak of the raining season in much of Ethiopia, voter turnout could be impacted. NEBE chairperson Britukan Midheksa also admitted that an August election posed logistical problems, adding that legal and institutional reforms had made it impossible to conduct the election sooner. She adds that holding an election in September or October was being suggested will be unconstitutional. Previous elections have been held in May. Meanwhile, voters in Cameroon are heading to the polls on February 9th. In preparation for this, the government is warning that it will deal firmly with those planning to disrupt the elections. This warning follows threats from separatists that say they will stop voting in the country's two English-speaking provinces. There is already a heavy security in the Anglophone regions, with 800 more military police officers being sent to secure two towns in the northwest and southwest provinces. Separatist fighters have said they will restrict access in these areas for 1 week from the 7th of February to prevent voting from taking place. Cameroonians are due to elect members of parliament and municipal councillors. South Africa will face dire consequences if the country's economy continues to deteriorate. This is a sentiment shared by delegates gathered for the country's second installment of the Business Economic Indaba at the Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg. President Cyril Ramaphosa delivered a keynote address on government's commitment to join forces in reviving South Africa's ailing economy. Channels TV South Africa correspondent Katleo Lehodi attended the Business Economy Indaba and filed this report.
The 2020 Business Economic Indaba. This is where government and business interact directly, and the focus is the economy and what all players can do to revive it. In his keynote address, President Cyril Ramaphosa outlined government's key priority areas that will urgently need business to come forward through collaborative efforts to help address the serious economic crisis South Africa finds itself in.
I've been insisting that we do need to embark on serious reforms if we are going to be an investor-friendly country. And in many ways, it is also for that reason that I've opted to have a monthly meeting with business, with labor, and community to discuss a number of the reforms that need to be embarked upon.
I can assure our government colleagues that we are more than ready as business to do so, as we have consistently indicated over the past 2 years. But in order to plan, support and mobilize resources, we need definition, we need certainty and clarity, we need hard decisions taken, and we need them now.
Delegates gathered at the Indaba had an opportunity to participate through breakaway panel sessions. They gave input on how they would like to see active practical outcomes from both business and government post the commitments made at the Indaba.
We are ready, willing and able to partner government to get us out of the crisis we are in, okay? But it does need very, very decisive leadership from the President and his cabinet and from the whole of government.
Government is not coming on board in a way that would like it to as business. I don't think that it therefore gives us the right to actually go back to our barracks and say that we're going to stop, because when things go south in this country, when this economy collapses, it collapses for all of us. So we therefore have an obligation, as business to continue doing what is right and to continue extending the hand.
South Africa's unemployment rate currently sits at around 30%, with the World Bank projecting the country's economic growth forecast for the year to below 1%, putting it at 0.9%. But many remain hopeful that it's through engagements like this that will bring about well-needed change for the country's economy. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Katleya Khodi, Channels Television News.
Let's head over to Tunisia to meet an electronics engineering graduate, Huda Ben Romthan, who breeds snails in her farm. Many of you might already be thinking about a peppered snail dish that has high nutritious value. Anyway, Huda is running a business with the slug, and she's meeting the new demand for the mollusk whose mucus is used in skincare products. Take a look.
Electronics engineering graduate Huda Romthan quit a job in administration after 12 years in order to pursue her passion in snail breeding, eyeing an emerging market for the mollusks in Tunisia.
I studied electronics engineering and I worked at a private communication company for 12 years in administration. Then I decided to open my own business, but in agriculture instead of administration. I chose snail breeding in 2014, but I faced a lot of difficulties, but I tried to overcome them over the years and improve the business. I started with extracting the mucus from the snails, a product that drew a lot of interest from clients. After extracting the mucus, the snails are used for cooking.
Their mucus can be used to produce beauty products, while their meat could make a delicious meal. Ben Romthan says she sources the snails from the Ministry of Agriculture, which supports her and tens of other local producers as part of an initiative aimed at helping local Tunisian producers breed, market, sell and export snails. While Ben Romthan only sells her products locally, others export their produce to European markets, mostly to Italy.
After studying snail mucus for 4 years due to its richness in hyaluronic acid and collagen, we have decided to produce a lotion that includes other vegetable oils. We made the lotion and found it was very effective in moisturizing and brightening the face, as well as fighting wrinkles and dark circles under the eyes. It has been very successful among customers.
After selling the mucus extract to clients like Korea, Ben Romthan cleans the snail's meat to be ready for cooking. She sells a box of 10 snails for $3.05. Restaurant owner Mohamed Aziz Samawi says his signature snail recipe, mixed with herbs and served in a special bread ball sandwich, is becoming one of his customers' favorite. Snail meat is said to be nutritious, it is low in cholesterol and rich in proteins, making it a popular delicacy in various cultures.
Looks yummy. Well, still to come on the program. The UN Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa expresses great hope for the developments in Somalia. Please stay with us.